Who's going to speak to us about no platform. So please, Alexander, the floor is yours.
Title again, please?
No.
The evolution of no platform. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Anybody present when I gave my the great free speech experiment?
Yes.
Well, this is the reason we're not entitled to free speech. Everybody familiar with no platform?
No.
No.
Yeah. Well, in my humble opinion, no platform has been. It's the reason we're where we are today. It's how can I put it? The Western world and the non-Western world to a great degree. Not just in my lifetime, but it goes back to the just before the 1920s. It hasn't caused a particular problem, it's made it a lot worse. Now, when I say no platform, I mean not the state banning people initially. I mean the thugs in the streets, Antifa now, and I think we're all aware of Antifa. We're lobbying that there's been Antifa clones here, anti-fascist action and so on, but it's the Antifa and everything that goes with it, the pressuring venues and the whispering campaigns, but largely the force to stop people holding bona fide meetings. This does spill over into legislation, and the reason we have this legislation is primarily because of no platform. It's a denial of any sort of platform. And if they have their way, they deny us from speaking here, from holding meetings here. The rationale behind it is very simple. It's if you have free speech, you wouldn't allow anybody else have it. And this free speech is so dangerous that it must never be spoken. Well, who decides? They decide. And it's no platform by any means necessary. Not by any legal means, necessarily, but by any means, including up to and including murder. There have been murders, not that many, but certainly people have been viciously attacked. There were attacks in the 1990s here, and more recently we've seen Antifa in the United States attacking people. As you saw the case of the guy who was attacked with, who was handing up. He was a Trump supporter, he was holding a flag or something. And the guy walked up to him and hit him with what appeared to be a clock. It was actually a bicycle lock in it, and broke his head open. And it was traced through 4chan, I think it was. And it turns out this guy is a professor, an academic. So this is the sort of hysteria.
You know what happened to him?
He got off, probably.
No, I think he's in prison waiting trial at the moment. But this shows the sort of, you think these people having some sort of education, that it would mean something, but it doesn't do anything at all. The indoctrination is so bad. And there's so many left-wing academics.
That's how strongly they believe.
Well, yeah, it's really, as I say, by any means necessary. It can include extreme violence, and when this violence occurs, it's always the right who's said to be responsible for it. It's still possible. Now, initially it was used against so-called fascists, which again is. A fascist is anyone they call a fascist. But if you look at some of the laws we have in this country, I probably shouldn't compare with Nazi Germany, but there are laws in this country which are far more oppressive than Nazi Germany and even Soviet Russia. I mean, we're spied on all the time. We have cameras everywhere. If you make an international phone call, if you send an email, somebody's collecting that. There are lots of manufactured offences for which you can be arrested, thrown into jail. Look at if anyone has ever sent money through the post, through Western Union or MoneyGram, the forms you have to fill out. You can't open a building society account without 2 forms of ID. They failed to get ID cards imposed. You know, back in the 1930s, they were complaining Jews had to wear the yellow star. And look at it now, and these people don't think.
Yeah.
We have it de facto, right? You can't go. You need a bank card. You can't. They will exist.
But it's the whole. It isn't just about protecting your money or protecting your ID and protecting people. You know, CCTV. It's about controlling this. If you Pippa King has done a lot of work on this, and you'll find her videos online and a website. She's a housewife from music teacher, housewife in Hull. She got into this. She's not right wing and such. She got into this when her kids, they tried to fingerprint their kids for the school library, and by chance, and she said to a head teacher, "You didn't ask my permission." And she was told, "We don't need your permission." And it's just what they're doing in schools now. It's just it's mind blowing. As I say, there's a subtle irony here because only a fascist government could ban fascism. Now, this whole nonsense of no platform was caused the Overton window to shift further left. Everybody familiar with the Overton window?
With what?
The Overton window. No. Named after a bloke called Overton, who was killed in a plane crash in 2003. It's the acceptable discourse. You can discuss this subject on these terms and no more. And you can't discuss race. You can't discuss certain aspects of history. And now it's getting to sex, as you'll see later. You know, subjects are increasingly becoming taboo. Now, the Overton window shifting is not necessarily a bad thing always. I mean, for example, we used to shove little boys up chimneys. I mean, that isn't really acceptable for a long time. You know, since the 19th century, 1800s. So, stamping out bad practices isn't a bad thing. You know, I mean, I think the idea that women should be able to have their own bank accounts and manage their own money isn't a bad idea. You disagree with that? All sorts of other things, but by and large, the Overton windows are left. Big state. I first became aware of no platform around 1974 when I was 18.
Huh?
And I wasn't politically active then. I was living in Ladbroke Grove at the time.
Huh?
But it wasn't until I moved to Leeds. I moved to Leeds in 1977. It wasn't until I moved to Leeds I really became aware of it big time. Yeah. As some of you know, Leeds is a big I haven't been there for a while, but for a long time. But there's a massive left-wing presence there. You had one of the things, you had the corner bookshop, second wave feminist bookshop, women's liberation bookshop. You had a very noisy feminist movement there, and the left were, you know, I mean, at one time the National Front used to be able to sell their newspapers in the city centre. You had violence to the XM. When I was researching that platform, I found, well, I was researching other things at Q, and I found what I think is probably the first, or one of the very first references to no platform in the UK. For those of you who use Q, You'll find this in file CAB 24/162 at page 153. That's a special branch report of November of number 226 of October 11, 1923. It's under Extremists and the British Fascisti. It's a report of the inaugural meeting of the London branch of the British Fascisti at Hammersmith on October 7th, and it was opened by a former suffragette. It was said to have been disrupted by extremists. Anyone know who founded the British Fascisti?
Lenan, Northorn, or some.
Go on.
Lenan, Thorn.
This Ruther Beryl Linton Ormond.
That's it.
A lot of people think Mosley was the kingpin, but Mosley was a mainstream politician at that time. It was founded in 1923, May 1923. Its name was anglicised shortly. It became the British Fascists. Miss Linton Ormond, who died young, I think she was 40 in 1935 in Gran Canaria. She's said to have borrowed the name Little Else from Italy. And they were not fascists at all in any proper sense. They supported the Conservative Party in practice. And they sent the king a telegram on his birthday and subversive stuff like that. The main objection to fascism came with the rise of Nazism, which was anti-Semitic. Well, Hitler's version was. Mussolini, who's generally not acknowledged as the father of modern fascism, was not an anti-Semite at all. In fact, he had at least one Jew in his cabinet, and there was a good relation to Jews. Interestingly, and again I can use a precise citation, in 1926 a Jewess claimed to have been a leader of fascism in Italy before Mussolini, and that's American Hebrew, November 5th, 1926, page 820, 823. An interview with Signora Amalio Basso and a woman leader of the Italian Fascisti. Movement was called Fascio Femminile and was founded in 1917. Well, these ideas actually go back a long way, to ancient Greece, communism and socialism and democracy and authoritarian government and men who was suitable for certain things in leadership and that. So, and Confucius had similar ideas. Mussolini was like the modern miracle. Another report of the British Fascisti, special branch report, and it says that a meeting was disrupted by local communist unemployed who turned up to disrupt it. The speakers would try to outline the principles of the movement and the like, and just attack. That was 1923. No platform started a bit earlier in Germany. It was used against the nascent German Workers' Party, called the German Labour Party, which was, I'm sure most of you know, Adolf Hitler joined as member number 7. Although he doesn't use the phrase, but in Mein Kampf, Hitler explains, volume 2, what he calls the Reds would turn up at party meetings en masse, and this would result in the police being called and the meetings being shut down, which of course is what they wanted. On page 528, it says, the party bodyguard had been assembled by the summer of 1920. The idea was to stop their meetings being disrupted by any means necessary. Now these sort of tactics worked for Hitler, but they backfired for Mosley. When Mosley formed British Union of Fascists, he made it clear that it was not to adopt an anti-Semitic policy. He was quite clear about that. And by and large, organised Jewry accepted this in good faith. But at street level, especially at the east end of London, you had like Jewish thugs were left-wing clubs, and you had the Jewish element among the communists. And there was an unremitting hate campaign against Mosley. Eventually Mosley turned against Jews, started using anti-Semitic rhetoric and such, and he did his movement. But in 1934, he had a big meeting at Olympia, and that was subjected to the same disruption tactics as we've seen pretty much since then. Mosley's response was to, these stewards was to use extreme violence against these people, kick them out, kick them down the stairs or whatever. And of course, who was to blame? Mosley's to blame. The far right is to blame. Always by the far right. We saw similar treatment used against Donald Trump, who is, how anyone could call Trump a fascist, I don't know, because you know, I mean, a man who, unless you consider the American Constitution to be fascist. No, I don't agree with Trump on everything. I think his policy on Iran is misguided. I'm not too fond of the way he's going about trying to bring North Korea to him. But his policy is America for the Americans, America first. And when he says Americans, it means all Americans, it doesn't mean white Americans. And I don't see anything wrong with that. He hasn't done so much to rein in the police, who are, as I'm sure some of you will know, are a law unto themselves in America, and it isn't just blacks they shoot or beat up, it's whites, and at times women. They tried using the same tactics against Trump, but fortunately they didn't work. Leaving aside the efforts of right-wing politicians, this has allowed, indeed encouraged, the promotion of all manner of lunacy from the race lobby. And now we've got it with the LGBT lobby, the ever-expanding act. It used to be called the so-called misnamed gay movement, now it's ever-expanding acronyms, LGBTQI now or something. It's ludicrous. Now, before going on to that, I'd like to return a bit to the Jewish question. There are some people, one person who attends these meetings in particular isn't here tonight, who see the hand of the Jew behind everything. Jews have been heavily involved in no platform hysteria. The idea it's a Jewish plot or a Jewish conspiracy is, if you look at it a certain way, it looks like that, but it isn't. Jews have not created a plot. They have helped create, some Jews have helped create a Frankenstein's monster. And we all know what happened to Dr. Frankenstein. And in fact, this monster has turned against Jews at times, in particular Israel. I'm no fan of Israel. I mean, I think we will see the terrible conditions of the occupation of the West Bank, but what's been happening in the Middle East of late, particularly Syria, is you think that yes, on the Israelis is quite as bad, but by comparison, they didn't cause Syria to explode. What has happened is that the no platform movement fraction, it split on those lines. You've got the pro-Israel lot, organised Jewry and a lot of right-wing Christians. And any opposition to Israel, of course, is anti-Semitism. And then you've got the anti-Zionist lobby, who see Israel as being a form of imperialism, America's watchdog in the Middle East, rather than the tail wagging the dog as it really happens. And of course they regard the Israelis as racists or as Nazis. They've got proper supporters like Roger Waters. And it's quite amusing at times actually. On campus you see the anti-Zionist wing trying to treat the Israel lobby the same way that we're treated. to them, Zionism is part of the great Satan. So you often hear Israel denounced as racist. In the 1970s and early 1970s, and from any National Front supporter, anyone who opposed immigration, the word used then was racialist, that became racist. If you were, if that were bad enough, the emergence of the recent years of identity politics, we've seen no platform extended from racists and anti-Semites and fascists, the whole anti-immigration lobby, and to any form of normal sexuality. You had the word racism has been around for quite a while. Sexism was first used in 1866 in a different context, but in the 1960s, the idea of sexism became dominant. That women are oppressed by men, and at the top of the tree of oppression, you've got white, heterosexual, Anglo-Saxon males who are oppressing everybody. And they started trying to no platform sexist, which could mean anything. Then it was extended to homophobes. And the latest development in this nonsense has been between feminists and the transsexuals. And this again is quite amusing when you see vile man-hating dyke Julie Bindel being no platform by the transsexual lobby. No, the whole thing is contrived. I'm 61 years old. I've interviewed one transsexual back in 1990 something. I've seen in the flesh maybe 3 or 4 real ones. And what's happening nowadays with transsexual as a gender is just complete nonsense. It's insanity. It's madness. Now, with regard to racial issues, these idiots have long part of over the windows. You can't discuss race because race is a social construct. And it has no basis in biology. You can kid people to some degree about that, like that, by fudging data, confusing nationality and race, and confusing your blacks and half blacks. But the idea that race doesn't exist is ludicrous. But that is their paradigm. Now they're trying to do the same thing with sex. We're told that gender is a social construct. Now, let me make my position clear here. The idea, I think we're all in favour of, I don't like the term equal rights because that's a misnomer. I think fairness. We don't treat everybody equally. We don't treat a 10-year-old who burns down a house the same way as we would a 30-year-old. Perhaps after John Venables we should rethink that, but I've got no problem with people being treated fairly, all things considered. But they go way beyond that. And their concept of fairness is equality of outcome and towing their line. Now, you can't argue with stupid. I've tried often enough over the past 30 odd years. I've just about given up. What's been happening, especially Canada, with the sexual grievance lobby, the
Human rights.
They call it human rights, but if you've seen what's been going on the Canadian campus, it really is insane. At some Canadian universities, you'll find all sorts of wonderful stuff on YouTube, and the way they behave there's one video I recall, probably quite a few of those, of angry feminists. They're trying to shut down a men's rights movement, and a men's rights meeting, and the stepson is screaming and right up in a police officer's face and swearing at him. And you know, the easiest way to get arrested in this country is to swear at a police officer, but they're just standing there and taking it. Yeah. And this is bad. Now, I say the Overton window shifted so far that if you haven't seen this, I can assure you it's absolutely true. Again, you can look on YouTube. The latest idea is that you can self-identify, and you can choose your gender, and you can self-identify as this and that. Now, self-identification is, and we all self-identify after a fashion, and there's nothing wrong with that. At this very moment, there's a man standing at the back of the room who self-identifies as a cameraman. Now, as he's done this many times before, as he's filming this now, that's perfectly reasonable. But if he decided to self-identify as a bat and jump out the window, how far would he fly? You know, I've tried self-identifying as a billionaire lover of Taylor Swift. I'm still waiting for that yacht. But Lauren Southern has exposed this for the insanity is. Anybody heard of Lauren Southern?
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't, Lauren Southern, this is a Canadian libertarian. She ticks all the right boxes, for me anyway. Long blonde hair, not quite as blonde as it appears, but blonde. Personality, gorgeous, temperament, everything. You know, your trophy girlfriend. She did a bizarre experiment. She went along to with a concealed camera, and I'll tell you, you'll see the footage on YouTube. She went to a clinic, and she told the person there that she was she'd been living as a man, and she self-identified as male, and she didn't overdo it. She was wearing, I think, blue jeans and jacket, and she had a hat, and her hair was up under her hat, as a woman who was working in a factory. But she didn't overdo it. She looked the part. She looked female. You know, nothing butch about her. So they gave her a document to say that she was living as a man, identified as a man. She then went along to a government rooms with documentation in order, and applied for an ID, and this time she had her hair down. Applied for documentation to show that she was a man, and this they gave her ID saying Lauren Southern is a man. Now, this is insane. What is even more insane is that at some point, probably now, if you disagree with somebody's assigned gender in Canada, assigned sexuality, you're committing a criminal offence. And
if you decline to use their
pronouns.
preferred pronoun.
I mean, this is
criminal offence. I don't think, but
it's coming. It's coming.
But the law isn't with this BHRC, is it?
Yes.
They have rights to it. So.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson has made a big thing about this. You know, this is the end result. Truth doesn't matter.
The end result, or the objective in the first place?
A while back, a male professor of gender studies, I don't know his name, pronounce his name right, Nicholas Matter. He was on a discussion on TV, and he said there is no such thing as biological sex. Sex doesn't exist. I mean, what can you say? What can anybody say?
saying gravity is
Now, I think this has gone so far, but I think we have to thank Hillary Clinton for. She may get us out of this mess because anyone remember her comment? What she said about Trump supporters?
Basket of deplorables.
Yeah. Half of Trump supporters could be placed in a basket of deplorables. If you vote for Trump, you're a bigot. In fact, if you don't vote for me, you're a bigot, you're unspeakable, you're an evil person. And that's a step too far. People have begun to see through that now, and of course they didn't vote for Clinton, and hopefully she'll be indicted at some point for her crimes against America.
She's still got 3 million at the party as well.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not very popular now. This is what no platform has led us to, and where's it going? Well, we'll see where it's going. It's going towards tyranny. This is the reason we've had this so-called war against so-called fascism and racism and sexism and all the other isms, and it's destroying our freedom. It's destroying us. But hopefully, people are waking up. I just hope we don't have to wait until somebody is thrown in jail for claiming that a woman is not a woman. So this is basically the history of no platform and its development up to date. So hopefully we'll start moving the other way, but I'm not that hopeful. So anyone want to ask any questions?
Do you find the non-binary people as a way out of that? You know, you do have a biological, but you want to identify as a female if you wish on one day.
It's just fashion, isn't it? It's stupid. Look, sexism is a bit more complicated than that. I mean, there are people who've all got 2 sets of sex organs, and sometimes women have all got testes, and so on, and men and women who. It isn't quite that simple, but there are 2 genders and 2 sexes.
Yes, and non-binary people accept that, but they play with one or the other, which I think I have a feeling we're all bisexual, but it's a
Speak for
choice.
yourself.
And there's a statement that says we're born naked, and after
This is a woman. This is a woman.
Yes,
This
but
is the only creature I will ever lust over. Not this particular one. Not this particular one.
The truth's coming out now.
Not this particular one.
In what sense are we're sexually dimorphic? In what sense are we all bisexual? I strongly disagree.
No, you're talking about sexual preferences there.
Yes, quite so.
Well, that's not the same thing, is it?
The trick is if you don't celebrate homosexuality, the trick is you are repressing your own.
Well, don't
homosexuality.
all men have
No.
all men have a female chromosome, don't forget.
that's it.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that make us any less men. But no, what they're doing is the idea that you can choose your gender. You can be one thing one day and one thing.
Well, living things don't have a gender. Or they didn't used to have a gender. Living things.
Tell them that.
Well,
That you can choose your sex.
Can I just, sorry to harp, this seems like a talking point of them, of the people who are introducing these.
They're insane.
Poisonous ideas.
No, but we need words to help us through this, and the non-binary thing, I think, is one way that we then can accept, these ideas that are going on.
I think we should reject the idea that we're not men or women. Perhaps 0.2% of the population have, what's it called, dysphoria? Dysphoria. And half of that have they're actually technically hermaphrodite, perhaps.
Yes. Well, don't forget, some people have all 6 fingers.
So
it doesn't mean they're not human, does it?
If I got you right, you were sort of saying that once this idea of no platform had started, it had its own inertia, which led us to this state of crisis.
Well, I don't think it's a conspiracy.
I think you're letting
insanity.
It is, but who couldn't see that from the start? And this idea that we are all, yes, feminine, masculine traits, but the idea that it's that we all have
The possibility of.
well, we have the possibility.
Okay, there you go. You can't get away from that.
But you know what? It kind of
It's freedom.
It kind of repels me, and
It's
I've never
cultural. It's
No, I think
cultural
it's actually
being
quite
determined.
deep within me, actually.
Yeah, because you grew up in a culture of your own.
No, it's not.
Accept that.
I do accept that. But my,
And that's the choice.
I think that most men are instinctively averse to what I will call a simulation of the sex act between homosexual men. I think I find when I talk to people in that's what most men actually
Well, what happens
feel.
is a lot of youngsters.
No, some are not, and I'm not. I wouldn't seek
A lot
to.
of youngsters go to what I think is a homosexual
Sure.
phase.
I mean, there's lots of
There's always some kid in the class who's more intelligent, better looking than you. The kids I used to look up to were the ones who had pulled the girls, you know. But some people get confused about that, and the idea that because people go through, you go through a phase. I mean, lots of teenagers go through a phase where they commit.
Well, it's still being sold to them, isn't it?
Accidental criminal damage, using drugs and stuff. So, just because somebody goes through a phase doesn't mean they're homosexual. It's
Then how do you explain the whole gay bashing phenomenon? Why do, I mean, some heterosexual men are perfectly relaxed with having gay friends.
Well, if they stay in
others can't.
they should stay in the closet where they belong, and
Who?
homosexuals.
I sort of agree in the public space. I wouldn't seek to.
How much intolerance was there of homosexuals in the 1960s?
It depends how blatant, how much they offended.
Very little. Occasionally the police would have a purge.
It depended how much they offended public
Occasionally the police
decency.
would have a purge on them, so as they would on prostitutes or somebody else. But once if they stayed in the closet, they had their own clubs, etc. They got equal rights now. They can do what they want now.
They have extra rights.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, extra.
If they stay in the closet, then everybody will be much happier.
Are you gay, sir? Are you homosexual?
Well, leave them alone.
I'm bisexual.
Okay. Well, can I first say that whatever I say, it's not a matter of any personal animosity towards you. Neither will I seek to limit your freedom, what you do in private. But I think what's more important is when these things come into the public space, and you'll be well aware that it is basically shoved down our throat as first normal, if not desirable.
This is what Islam does. It keeps it out of public space.
What's that?
Islam keeps it out of public
Well,
space.
it's fun to see the fights between gay rights activists and
I agree. But I mean, I'm going to be respectful of my culture. And listen, I wake up every morning and I decide, am I going to live for myself or for my culture? And you probably do the same thing, you know?
Well, culture is all of life that is not biology. And our culture.
Well, that's not what he means.
Well, I'm very mad.
Sorry?
I'm very much a man.
Well, that's my way. It's a way of looking
that's
at
what
it.
That's his way of bullying it. I think what's happened is we've lost, because of possibly these people, people who want to destroy our culture, growing up at school, the actual masculine whole thing has been very devalued. And my problem with homosexuals has been their place feeding into that at school. And they would have, where the tough blokes would be in charge, the hierarchy would be right, they were pretty much in charge as cliques and so forth, culture, and they've really taken over, and they've been inadvertent or whatever allies in all this stuff we're talking about. So
I don't know. I mean, it's a long while since I've been at school, so I've no idea what culture the schools are possibly like. I would think it very unlikely that the tough guys aren't actually in charge just as they always were. They might get in trouble for different things from the teachers, but they're still going to be the tough guy in the class, and people are still going to, sort of watch themselves around him just as they've always done.
It's very interesting. The first
that's
campaign,
that whole thing I'm talking about.
the first campaign is
and that's the result. I mean, it may still exist, but
the first campaign.
I don't know about now.
Yeah.
On me, but
The first campaigners for homosexual rights accepted that they weren't. Well, Magnus Hirschfeld was actually a Jew. He argued that, and he was a closet homo. He argued that homosexuals were.
Coined the word racism. Some people say.
Yeah, well, he actually predates him, but I've done further research on that. He argued that homosexuals were not criminal, they should be decriminalised and left to get on, they should be treated sympathetically, but it was opposed to the so-called gay culture. Quentin Crisp was, you know, flamboyant homosexual poster. One of the first organisations in America, the Manichaeans, who campaigned for homosexual rights, they said, look, we know our practices revolt you. All we want is the right to do it behind closed doors, and that to me that seems perfectly reasonable.
Why should they have to be behind closed doors? Why can't two guys go to the prom? I mean, our kids are in their mid-20s, so I can't speak about where it is right now. We're partners.
Right.
And our kids are 25 and 27. Now, they grew up in school. Everything was perfectly open. There was no intimidation. They didn't have these issues that you all seem to be raising. They're the new generation. They're the ones that are going to inherit this bloody world.
So what is it that they have learned that we didn't know?
Tolerance.
No.
So you're proposing that there's been a sort of a change in human consciousness?
The problem is homosexuality is now well in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And when poisons get into the mainstream, the society is doomed.
Poison. I would resolve from saying poison.
Let me say that in the 60s,
Yeah, it could be poison.
I was bisexual, but I didn't like gay political people pushing their agenda.
Yeah,
the thing is, all of a sudden I realized they couldn't get apartments like straight people, and then I thought, well, that isn't fair. And that was then my first inclination, well, maybe they have a point. They want to be normal.
Which they all wanted to be in the military.
They wanted fair treatment.
They wanted fair treatment.
Now they want special privileges, special rights now.
And we don't have our space.
Any
so
special
we'll
interest group
be
is
a
never going to know when to stop. That's the trouble. It's not just gay rights. It's feminism.
I don't believe we have human rights. I don't believe
in human rights.
You have to create them. You have to create them, and that's...
Well, the right is what the strong grants to the weak, isn't it?
Well, that's always been so.
It is, indeed, yeah. So given that, you would accept, I presume that...
I wanted them to be able to get an apartment. That's all politically I could give them.
But let's take your example. Supposing stereotypical, outrageously camp homosexual couple rented an apartment in this condo complex and started having, parties on which the other would find distasteful.
I would find it distasteful too.
But with respect, you're not typical of...
I'm not typical at all. I don't understand people. I don't understand this world at all. It's really gone off the rails.
Do you have a sense that you're being used as the coalition of the oppressed to overturn?
I'm not oppressed. I'm not a victim at all.
They keep telling you you are.
No, I don't listen to people. I make
but
my
what
own
matters
mind up.
But what matters is what the masses think, isn't it?
The masses are mad.
You say it doesn't matter to you, but it matters in what happens in the world.
Yeah,
the story is you're poor, oppressed, we're all homophobic. I'd like to ask you, do you not have a sense that gay homosexuals are being used as part of cultural Marxism, the coalition of the minorities to overturn the established order?
That's the thing.
No, it's not a question of overturning the established order.
You say it's not a question, but sorry, is that not what is...
That's what the question to us.
No. The
It's
established
our
order is...
problem.
All things change, all cultures change, they're not static things, but it's expanding, it's becoming more pluralistic, more inclusive. Yes, there's always going to be friction.
Do you think that's happening organically?
Yeah,
or is it directed from the top?
No, it's happening more organically. A lot of it's a mess, I agree with you on that, but it's not being directed. Alexander said something about they, you use this word they, and they won't let us do something or have our being able to talk or have free speech, but it works both ways. It's those of us who can't say something are letting them stop us from talking. So it's not just they, it's a whole shebang. Everybody's part of it. And so if there isn't free speech or freedom. It's all of our responsibilities. It's not one group, and it's not some dictator or totalitarian entity over us. I mean, I agree, we do live in a kind of a serfdom world these days. It's a little different than the Middle Ages as far as the extreme wealth and the rest of us.
Gentlemen, I think this conversation could go on for a
Yeah,
long
you're
time.
right.
So maybe you can have the last word which you had, so thank you, Michael. Could I just say, as David always says at the end of the meeting, there's no such thing as a free lunch, so perhaps we could have his contribution to cover the cost of the room. If,
Okay.
good. Thank you.